Hello and welcome back to Concert Critiques in Cars with Emily. So this is actually a special one. I'm actually in Utah right now. So seeing a band from Baltimore, unfortunately when they're playing Baltimore, I cannot go to that show. So I decided to make a trip of it and come to Utah. So anyway, let's get into it. So getting to the venue, which is called the loading dock, was a little bit confusing. So apparently they used to be in a different location and now they're in a new location. And the internet was not very clear, nor was any website. So fortunately the email was the thing that was the helping hint as to where I was supposed to go. But once I finally figured out where I was actually supposed to go, it was not that hard to get there traffic-wise. So this concert had 4 bands. The first one was Glacier. The second was Young Culture. The third was Disco Fredo. And the last one was Have Mercy. And that, again, is the Baltimore band I came to see. So, yeah, let's just get into it because there's a lot to talk about. So the first one, Glacier, they were really good. Female singer. I really liked almost every song except for the 5th one. That was like the female breakup song, which is why I sometimes really don't like female singers. So, and it wasn't even a bad song. It just wasn't my favorite. But the third song for sure was the highlight. It was like, had like a really dancey feel, and there was like an awesome breakdown in the middle, which I really loved. Sometimes lyrics were hard to understand when all of the instruments were playing, but when I could understand the lyrics, I really liked most of the lyrics. Yeah, I mean, overall, really, they had one song that was like, had that quicker feel. But yeah, so it was really good. The 3rd and 4th song in particular were definitely a highlight for me for Glacier. So then Young Culture came on, and they were like super energetic from the start, like just bouncing around before they even started playing, like, which was awesome. The drummer only came on with like underwear and socks to play, so that was pretty interesting too. And yeah, so really just an interesting way to come out on stage, but really like upbeat, energetic. The second song in particular had a quick, short beat. And during the 3rd song at the very beginning, the mic stopped working and one of the sound people had to come and switch the wire. And so the lead singer clearly didn't know it wasn't working and he was just singing for a little bit. But I mean, once it was plugged in and he kind of realized what was going on, he kind of just went with it. So that was like awesome that he did it. Although I was a little bit disappointed that he then didn't say anything about it, like afterwards to the crowd, like make a comment or something. But I mean, whatever, they were great and it was a really good save and it was good. And actually I really ended up liking the lyrics of that song once we could hear the lyrics. So I'm sad that I couldn't hear all of them, but definitely going to check that song out in particular just because I really liked the lyrics that I could hear. So I'm assuming I would probably like the other lyrics as well. And then they played their new single, Holiday in Vegas. And that was okay. There was nothing particularly grabbing for me, but yeah, it was pretty good. And then I really loved the 6th song they played. That was probably my favorite. It was like a little bit quieter verses, and then they had a heavier chorus, which I really liked. And at the end of that song, the mic had tipped over, and so the lead singer didn't realize it. And so when he turned around, he went to go grab the mic. So that was just like such a cool moment, and definitely would not happen at every show. So that was awesome. I really liked that. So yeah, it definitely made the show feel really unique. And they had an awesome last song. So yeah, like really overall did an awesome job. And even despite some mishaps and missteps, they still were able to totally rock it out. So that was awesome. And then Fredo Disco came on, and they had like a really fun first song, and just like the energy was awesome. And again, the second one had a quick short thing. So that was like the 3rd band in a row that happened with. So that was pretty awesome. And then the 3rd song they played was Jimbo. And so I just started listening to them today, actually, while I was in the car, and loved that song. Immediately pulled my attention. And so I wasn't sure if they were going to play it because I hadn't listened to any of their stuff previously. And so when he announced to the crowd that they were going to play Jimbo, I was like, yes, I can't wait to see this song live. So I was really, really glad that they played that live. And I was really excited to see it. I really, really loved the guitar part. So yeah, it was really great. Then they played the Shower song. Loved the pre-chorus. So good. Frankenstein, which was awesome. Really liked the lyrics. The downfall for me was song number 6. It was a cover song, so it wasn't their song, and it just like, it was it was fine. It wasn't theirs. And so it kind of killed the mood a little bit because their stuff is so like upbeat and poppy. And so to like hear that, it was just like, oh, this is like, and it's funny because I could tell it wasn't their song and they only announced that it was a cover song after it was over. And I was like, something's off here. So it kind of like took me out of that headspace of like, oh my gosh, this band is so awesome. After that, they played Dad Jeans, which again had a really quick, short feel. Then they played a newer song, which was really jumpy. And yeah, so then the ninth song, they ended with like a slower version of the chorus, and then like it just like picked up and it was awesome. It was a really, 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 really good way to end that song. Such a fantastic ending to their set. I was actually a little bit afraid that Fredo Disco was gonna Disco Fredo, sorry, was going to steal the show from Have Mercy, and I was like, oh god, I was like, their set was so good. But I am so happy to tell you that boy did Have Mercy put on a show, not only musically but also just like so good. So if you don't know this, Have Mercy is breaking up at the end of this tour, which breaks my heart because I love them so dearly, and I've seen them a couple times now and they are so good and I love listening to their music. So I'm sad that they will be no more, but so I also know that their last show is going to be in Baltimore, and so obviously that's going to be like their big goodbye. And so I was a little bit apprehensive, like thinking, they might not make this particular one a big one just because it's not like their Baltimore final show. But I was super pleasantly surprised at how wonderful it was, and I will tell you why as we go through it. So they started with an older song that I knew, and again, it was just like the first moment you're like, oh, so good to hear it. Just his voice is so different, and just the way he makes his end sound is so good. So that was awesome. I really liked that. And then after that, they played a song that I knew. And it was funny because he put the guitar pick in his mouth and then he went to go sing with the guitar pick in his mouth, and then he was like, oh, I can't do that, so he had to take it off. But yeah, so that was good. It was just, again, a unique thing that's not going to happen at every show, so I really liked that small little touch, which was totally not on purpose, but it was kind of cool. And then the lead singer just like took his guitar off and changed his jacket, or took his jacket off, and he was talking about how, I guess at previous shows he's been ripping his shirt off, and he was like, yeah, I'm not doing that anymore because then I have to go shopping. And so yeah, so that was again just like a funny little anecdote. And then they played Heartbeat off their new album, which I really liked. They had like the drumming in particular, there was like that quick feel to it, so I really liked that. Just like overall, the band as a whole had such great banter with the crowd, but also with each other. And yeah, so I really liked that. And then they played a new one after that. So then someone asked why they were like breaking up, and they like started talking about how their journey started, and they were traveling a lot, but then they got interrupted, and then they told us that they wanted to sleep, but also to really settle down and start a family. So again, I really liked just the way that they were able to kind of communicate and reciprocate the questions that were being asked and stuff like that. So I really liked that. And then, so that song was a song that I recognized and loved, and I loved the pre-chorus that song, so that was really great. So the next song he sang, I didn't recognize, but I really loved the way he sang it. So at first it was like kind of screamy, and then during the slower parts, it was definitely like raspy. And so I really liked that. And actually during that song, they stopped halfway through, and the lead singer was like, oh no, there's more, don't worry. And then the bassist spilled water all over him and his bass. And yeah, so it was pretty funny. It was just, again, like just such a mishap that you can't like plan for. And it was something that, again, was super unique. In the next song, they had the crowd sing the part right before the instrumental ending. And at first, like no one was singing, and then the lead singer was just like that. And then everyone started singing. So that was really cool, that everyone kind of like knew how to get in on it. So that was awesome. So after that, they, went over like their past tours, and like particularly in Salt Lake City. So they were talking about how this morning they went to the wrong venue, which is what I did. So that was awesome that they kind of had that same experience that I did. Saying they were like, yeah, like we thought it was there and then we went to the wrong place. And then I guess on one Halloween they were here and they dressed up in drag. So that was awesome that they kind of like went back and talked specifically about that city. And so I hope that they did that for all of the other cities if they'd been there before, because that was a really cool, nice thing to do. So the song after that, so that song was These Streets, which is about Baltimore. And I was like, yeah, Maryland represent. But obviously no one else is from Maryland that came to that show probably. So that was fine. And then after that, they played a song that I didn't know, but I really loved the guitar part in the bridge. So that was just like awesome. And then they did like the smartest thing they could have done. So the song right after that it had like a slow start, but then the verses were really like a lot heavier. But again, just keep in mind, so the verses are slower and then you have this like heavy chorus. But it worked so well because the next song, the rest of the band except for the lead singer went off, and he talked about how the drummer died the past year, and like he was genuinely emotional and you could hear it in his voice. And so I thought that was really sweet. And he talked about how much, he misses him, and that they were going to play the song for them. So they played My Old Friend. And I don't think that's what it's called. If it's not, I'm sorry. That's what I wrote. So, but it was great. Like the entire crowd was so quiet and it was just such a like genuinely heartfelt moment, and I just really loved that. So that was awesome, and I thought that song was really good. And again, it came right after you get like that slower with a little bit of heavy, but then you get like really slow. So I thought that was a really good transition and a really good ordering of the songs. So then they played Howl, and it was so good. This is like where the set just like totally kicked. I just can't even tell you how much I loved it. I loved it so much. So the last 4 songs were the 4 songs that I know the best, and they were so good. Actually, that's not true. Maybe not the best, but 4 of the songs that I know the best of them. And so great to like re-see these songs live. Such a good way to go out. Just great choices. Loved it so much. They could have not played any other song but these 4 songs, and I would have just been like, so good. So Howl was great, so good, and that was like the start of this awesomeness. And then an audience member was like, Dos Años. He just kept yelling 2 years. And so the whole show they were talking about, like, the rule is if you yell out a song, we're not playing that song. And so, like, I think a lot of the crowd believed them, and they were like, wait, what? You're not going to play 2 years now because one guy yelled it? And the other part, I think, of the crowd was kind of like, all right, they're clearly going to play 2 years. It's their last show ever in Salt Lake City. So, like, this has to happen. But it was just, like, so great. And particularly with this one guy, like they were just so good, and just the build up to 2 years was so great. And again, like maybe it happens kind of at other shows, but not like this show. It was just so good. And so they played that song and it was awesome. He also did let the crowd do a lot of the singing. So that was kind of like to a point where at the end, he just totally turned his back on the crowd and it was like, okay, you guys can just take it from here. So that was kind of fun. The second to last song that they played was a song I know well, and I can't think of the title at all. But I'm glad they played it second to last because I wanted them to play a song that I care more about last. And during that song, a guitar string broke. So after that song, the lead singer was like, yeah, my guitar string broke. Sorry, guys. But he just played the next song with a missing guitar string. And it was fine. Didn't really hear any difference. But so the last song was Let's Talk About Your Hair. And I'm so glad they played that last because I love that song, like so much love that song. So that was awesome. Good choice again. And so they had like an extended outro, and that to me was just like, it's like they just were trying to extend it a little bit further, just hold on to like this moment a little bit longer. And so I loved that. I'm so sad that they're not going to be a band anymore, and this was the last time I saw them, but man, was it a great last show for me. It was just so good, and it was so great. And I really think they really kind of did a nice, like, perfect balance of, like, the flashback episode and, like, being very present and still kind of, like, playing to the crowd now and not just like thinking about the past, but also like kind of mentioning the past and telling like funny stories about Salt Lake City, but then other places too. They kind of talked about other cities and what has been happening on the tour so far. So I loved their entire set. I thought it was so good. There was not even a low point for me. I mean, there was definitely maybe one song that I didn't know that I was like, ugh, but I wouldn't even count it as a low point because they were all just so fantastic. All right, so scores. Oh my gosh, this is gonna be so hard. This is gonna be so hard. So the beginning of the show was good. The first two bands were pretty fine. I mean, nothing terrible except for maybe that one song by Glacier Veins. That was probably the only one that I would say was like not great. But again, like really, I mean, Young Culture was really good. I mean, again, Disco Fredo, I thought was going to steal the show. So they were really, really good. And then you have Mercy, who just, I mean, they did everything. They made me, I was laughing so hard my stomach hurt at certain points. But then I also was so emotional that like, it was so good. I think, oh man, I really don't know what to do with this one. I guess the only bad things were 4 bands, so it was a long show, but Mercy was just so good. And then that one song, no, it can't be. I'm gonna give this one, I'm gonna give this one a 9.8. It was so close to perfect, so close. Not quite there, but so close. So yeah, 9.8, so fantastic. Loved every second of it. Thank you, Have Mercy, for giving me one last amazing show. And I hope you guys have a great time in Baltimore in like 2 weeks. All right, well, like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.